These 4 pillars of Immanuel Kant will make you happy in old age. If you're getting older, and it feels like people are slowly disappearing from your life, stay right here with me. Aging isn't just something that happens to your body, it's a test, a psychological one, and sooner or later, life asks every one of us the same question. Who are you? When no one is asking you to be anything for them anymore. If your peace depends on other people staying, approving, needing you, you will suffer. But if your peace comes from solid ground inside yourself, then no season, no loss, no silence can shake you. See, philosophers like Kant talked about this. He called it moral autonomy, the inner law that guides you when nothing else will. He said a person must be a law unto themselves, not a slave to what the world wants them to be. In youth, most of us forget this. Our happiness is tangled up in others, family, friends, partners. But time strips that away. And what we're left with isn't loss, it's clarity. It shows which connections are real and which were illusions. Children move out, friends drift away, spouses. Sometimes they become strangers. Those we leaned on? Temporary companions at best. Kant reminds us, the only support we can truly trust is the strength we carry inside ourselves. The part of us that can stand, even when everything else fades. That's the kind of freedom that keeps a person whole. Today, I want to show you 4 pillars, the principles that can keep you steady, keep you strong in the quiet seasons of life. Pillar number 1, solitude without struggle. This is where most people struggle and where they don't like to admit it. You have to learn how to be alone, without turning it into suffering. Loneliness is not the absence of people. Loneliness is the absence of peace with yourself. 2 people can live in the same quiet house and have completely different lives. One feels trapped, the other feels free. Silence doesn't hurt you. What hurts is what comes up when there's nothing left to distract you. When we're young, we lean on relationships like crutches, family, work, identity, being needed. And over time, life starts taking those crutches away, not to punish you, but to see if you can stand on your own. Being alone is a condition, feeling abandoned is a belief. If you believe your value disappears when people stop calling, when the roles fade, when you're no longer required, then silence will feel like a sentence instead of a space. Picture a quiet apartment. Evening light coming through the window. No television, no phone, just a person sitting there, present. That's not emptiness, that's strength. When you can sit with yourself without panic, something real happens, not just in your thoughts, in your body. Your nervous system stops begging for noise. You spent your life being useful, dependable, the one others leaned on. So when those roles fade, it can feel like you are fading. But hear me clearly, you are not fading. You are being introduced to the part of yourself that was never allowed to speak while everyone else needed something from you. This is not about rejecting love. It's about refusing to make other people your oxygen. The moment you learn to breathe in your own presence, solitude stops being a threat and starts becoming a foundation. Pillar number 2, rhythm of the day order. Not perfection, not control, order. Because as life gets quieter, disorder gets louder. When your days were full, work, people, responsibility, noise, chaos could hide. But when the room clears out, what's been ignored steps forward. Closets full of clothes from a life that's over. Drawers stuffed with letters never answered. Objects kept, not because they're useful, but because letting them go feels like admitting something ended. That's grief that never found a place to land. And when grief doesn't move, it settles into furniture, into corners, into unfinished tasks that quietly demand your attention. Order isn't about erasing memory, it's about giving memory its proper place, so it doesn't run your present. This is where rhythm comes in. Waking up at a consistent time, eating real meals, making your bed, clearing one surface, putting things back where they belong. These aren't small acts. They're signals. They tell your inner world, life still has shape. My days still matter. Without rhythm, time blurs. Days bleed into each other. Meaning thins. Pillar number 3, freedom from the crowd. Most people live under someone else's eyes. Approval means safety, so we adjusted, became agreeable, responsible, useful. But here's the cost, comes due later in life. If you need permission to be yourself, you will never be free. Real freedom doesn't come from being admired, it comes from being governed by your own inner law. Old age has a way of exposing this. Your body changes, your role changes, your circle gets smaller, and suddenly you're left with a question: if nobody is watching, who am I? People spend their lives managing appearances, keeping the story clean, smiling in public while everything inside unravels. Why? Judgment feels more dangerous than truth. Time teaches this. You can't keep auditioning for love. You can't edit your truth to keep others comfortable. You can't spend the second half of your life proving something to people who are still hiding from themselves. Old age humiliates the need to impress. It asks you to stop explaining, stop defending, stop trying to be understood by those who aren't listening. So here's the question to sit with. Whose opinion are you still living under? Family, community, children? Or the unforgiving younger version of you who thought life had to look a certain way to be worth living? The moment you stop living for their eyes, something quiet and powerful happens. You come home, not to approval, to yourself. Pillar number 4, loyalty to your core. It asks something very specific. Loyalty, not to your role, not to your reputation, not to who you used to be for others. Loyalty to yourself. The world slowly stops assigning you a purpose. You're not needed in the same ways. You're not praised in the same ways. You're not called as often. If your sense of worth came from being useful, this stage can feel like disappearance. But you're not disappearing. You're being asked to choose yourself without applause. Meaning doesn't have to be big, a grand mission, something visible. It shows up quietly, in small, sacred acts. Getting dressed with care, making coffee slowly, writing a few lines each day, not to be read, but to leave proof you existed. These are acts of rebellion, against the idea that if no one is watching, it doesn't count, against the belief that your value expires when your social role fades. This is your soul saying, I still matter. And when you stay loyal to yourself, something shifts. You stop waiting for life to start again. You stop begging for meaning from others. You become the source. Old age is not the end. It's not a punishment. It's the moment life removes what's temporary. The noise, the roles, the approval, so you can finally meet what's true. And what's true is this. You were never meant to survive on other people's attention. You were meant to become rooted in yourself. Freedom isn't having no constraints. Freedom is living by your own inner law, even when the world goes quiet, even when nobody claps, even when you're no longer needed the way you once were. Because the moment you choose yourself, this chapter stops being a loss and becomes the most honest life you've ever lived.